Hey, what's up, guys, and welcome to another episode of Gamescript. In today's episode, I'm going to be looking at the Kansas City Chiefs versus the Las Vegas Raiders. And it is a game where the Chiefs are 10.5-point favorites, but I think this game is going to be much closer than that spread is saying, and I'll get into it after this.
There is a ton of value in current underdog playoff best ball ADP. Elite offenses like the Bills are easy to stack. Take advantage of uncertainty and start drafting now. Use the promo code SEEK for up to $100 match on your first deposit. And subscribe to Heat Seeker Sports on YouTube for underdog strategy and drafting shows.
Hey, what's up, guys? Simon Edwards at Pumacom here with Heat Seeker Sports, and you're watching Gamescript. Today is a special Christmas edition. I'm going to be looking at the Kansas City Chiefs versus the Las Vegas Raiders. They're going to be playing in Kansas City, and the Chiefs are 10.5-point favorites in this with a 40.5-point total. Not sure why the Chiefs are 10.5-point favorites in this game, given the defense of the Raiders and the defense of the Chiefs, like both really good defenses. I think this is going to be more of a low-scoring game. I think 10.5 points is a lot of points in a low-scoring game to be giving to the Chiefs, who have not been a good offense this year. And I'm going to get into the analysis in a second, but before I do that, make sure to hit the like button on this video. I'm looking for 15 likes. And make sure to subscribe to the YouTube page. I am aiming for 300 YouTube subscribers before the end of the season. I'm at about 260 right now, so I'm about 40 short of that 300 goal for the end of the season, so help me out there. And subscribe or sign up for an underdog account, because when you sign up for an underdog account and you use the promo code SEEK, S-E-E-K, just like it says on the bottom of the screen here, you will get up to $100 deposit match on your first deposit for a new account, and Underdog will match you up to $100. They have all sorts of playoff best ball going on right now. Super fun game to play. I've been giving advice on teams to target, and I gave advice on the Bills and the Rams, and both are now about 75 to 80% chance of making the playoffs right now. We're getting them at a really good value right now. That won't last once they have those playoff positions locked in. And they are two dangerous teams for the playoffs. Like, nobody's going to want to face these teams in the playoffs. They're teams with playoff experience and good coaching, at least on the Los Angeles side. And you know, it's just two dangerous teams that can make it far in the playoffs, and you get them at a discount in playoff basketball right now. So on to the Gamescript episode. We are looking at Chiefs versus Raiders. As I was saying, the spread being 10.5 points, that seems excessive. It seems like it's kind of relying more on Kansas City's legacy than it is on reality. And I just don't see the Chiefs as a good team with the weapons to be able to take that kind of lead on the Raiders. We do have some, injury situations on the Chiefs side. Kadarius Toney is out. Jerick McKinnon is out, and Mecole Hardman is out. So that's, three of those, Russian roulette type of receivers that we don't have to worry about tonight. Kind of solidifies Rashee Rice, who has been, solidifying himself anyways recently with, taking over, like a major part of that offense and becoming a favorite target of Patrick Mahomes. In addition to that, Rashee Rice has been scoring. Here, I just pop him up here. We can take a look at his game log. Last few games, 24 points versus New England, 19 versus Buffalo, 14 versus Green Bay, and 27, close to 28 last time they faced Vegas. Vegas is a more serious team right now. They have gotten rid of Josh McDaniels. They like their new interim head coach, and they're playing well for him. And I think that in a game versus the Chiefs, it's a division rival. Win would mean a lot to this team right now, especially on Christmas. And I would not be surprised to see the Raiders show up in this game on Christmas. So as far as Rashee Rice, he, according to PFF, has been scoring the 4th most fantasy points per route run versus zone coverage, which is the the Raiders' primary coverage on defense. So Rashee Rice has a really good matchup, and that helps explain, how he scored 28 DraftKings points against them the last matchup that they had. And just in general, Rashee Rice, for his price, we're looking at him at about 9.2 on DraftKings. That's relatively cheap for like a top option for Patrick Mahomes in the passing game. So I'm really liking Rashee Rice in this matchup. Patrick Mahomes has been largely a disappointment this year. 20 DraftKings points, 14, 14, 20, 17, 16. You see a lot of scores underneath 20 DraftKings points, which is unusual for Patrick Mahomes. He threw a little hissy fit last week when Kadarius Toney wasn't lining up properly, blaming the refs, even though Toney should have been basic knowledge on how to line up at the line. And Mahomes, he's been so frustrated that he threw a fit over something that silly. And this week, he faces a Raiders defense. I'm not sure what Maxx Crosby's status is. I heard that Maxx Crosby is doubtful for the game on Christmas. So keep a close eye on Maxx Crosby's status, because that's going to be a huge piece of this puzzle. Last week, he was also doubtful, but he ended up playing. So, he's been dealing with a knee injury. I think he has some sort of a knee bacterial infection that he's been dealing with. And, he's kind of been on the fence as far as whether or not he'll play. But Maxx Crosby's status is going to be huge. Him and Patrick Mahomes have a pretty good on-field rivalry going. And, it would be a big hit to the Raiders if Maxx Crosby does not play this week. He is one of the main reasons that their defense has been firing on all cylinders recently. And as far as, another thing to kind of lend to, how I'm not buying into that 10.5 point spread is the Raiders have allowed 21 or less points 8 times this season, and Kansas City has scored 21 or less points 8 times this season. So, it just seems like a crazy spread for this game to have. I think the Raiders can play a lot closer to that. I don't really like Aiden O'Connell, but I think that the Raiders can get their run game going probably against the Chiefs. We're still waiting on Josh Jacobs' status, but the Chiefs have been giving up 23.9 DraftKings points a game to the running game. And the Raiders have been giving up 25.9 DraftKings points a game to the run game on their end. So the run games on run defenses on both teams are the weak spots in their defenses. But the Raiders have been really good against quarterbacks. They're only allowing 14.4 DraftKings points a game to quarterbacks. Chiefs have also been good against quarterbacks. They're only allowing 15.7 DraftKings points a game. Wideouts are only getting 8 DraftKings points a game versus the Chiefs, so it's not a good scene for the wideouts. Michael Mayer, the tight end of the Raiders, is out for this game, and the Chiefs are only giving up 9 points a game anyways to the tight end position versus the Raiders, who are giving up 11.5 points, DraftKings points a game to the tight end position. So that is a very, low to middling amount of points that the Raiders are giving up to the tight end position, which is not very good news for Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce, if we're looking at his history between Travis Kelce and the Raiders, you can kind of see here on this Pro Football Reference. Last game against them, he had 7 targets, 6 receptions, and 91 yards. So he had a pretty good game there. Prior to that, 7 targets, 6 receptions, 38 yards, 8 targets, 7 receptions, 25 yards. But he had 4 touchdowns in that game. 4 targets, 3 receptions, 27 yards, and then 10 targets, 8 receptions, 119 yards. So that's his recent history against the Raiders. Prior to that, he's had a bunch of big weeks. But if we're looking at 21 through the current, that's what he's done lately. So that's that's a pretty decent history by Travis Kelce, but it's not something that's going to justify his salary if we're judging from recent history versus the Raiders. And the Raiders, like I said, they're allowing only barely 12 DraftKings points a game to the tight end position. So not a great matchup for Kelce, and he's been sluggish in general recently. You look at his last few games: 8 DraftKings points against New England, 14 versus Buffalo, 12 versus Green Bay, 15 versus Vegas. I guess his if the defense hadn't taken away, or the refs haven't taken away greatness from Travis Kelce, he would have had more than 7 DraftKings points last week. But it's not how it worked out for him. So Travis Kelce, not the best play this week, but you never know. Like he can always pop off. He still definitely has the upside. So Travis Kelce is someone to leave in your player pools. Davante Adams, last week he got 27 DraftKings points in that blowout against the Chargers. Prior to that, he had 2 weeks of 12.3 DraftKings points, then 1 week of 21.2. But other than that, he's been really down this season too. I think a lot of that had to do with Josh McDaniels, but I think he's just worn out on being a Raider. And he joined the Raiders to join his buddy Derek Carr, and then Derek Carr got traded in the offseason, and so Davante Adams was stuck as a Raider with a bad coaching staff and bad quarterback play. So last week he kind of clicked with Aiden O'Connell, but that was a blowout game against the Chargers. He's got a much more difficult matchup against the Chiefs. The last game that they played, he only scored 12 DraftKings points, and he's pricey on top of that at 10-4. So Davante Adams is not a lock this week. Rashee Rice, covered him. I like him. He's probably my favorite play on the slate this week. He seems like he's going to be the most consistent and the one with the least question marks around him. Josh Jacobs has a injured quad, but the last game that he played against Kansas City, he scored 26 DraftKings points. So he seemed like he was kind of coming around ever since they got rid of McDaniels, and he's had 2 down weeks in that. But I think this game against Minnesota is probably where he got that knee injury. So give him a pass there. If he is not ready to go, then Zamir White would have that nice matchup, and he scored 17.5 DraftKings points against the Chargers last week. They have a new emphasis on the run game in Las Vegas ever since the interim coach took over. That's kind of the route that he wants to go with the team as a run team, but like whether or not they're going to be running is going to depend on how their defense is able to hold the Chiefs. So they might not have an option in that, but Zamir White would be interesting at $7K if Josh Jacobs is out, or if we find out that he's going to be any type of limited. Aiden O'Connell had that big game last week. 63 DraftKings points, or 63 points the team scored. He scored 26 DraftKings points. That's his highest DraftKings output, though, and he's got a tough matchup. I'm not a big fan of Aiden O'Connell this week, unless we're going for some sort of a Raiders pull off the upset type of build. But he should be active, throwing a lot of passes against the Chiefs. See what he did. Like last game against the Chiefs, he put up 14 DraftKings points. Isaiah Pacheco is back from shoulder surgery. Not sure what his limitations are going to be this week. His last 2 games played, though, he scored 24 points and 26 points, and he's got that nice matchup this week against the Raiders. And on top of that, Jerick McKinnon is out, so his only competition in the backfield is Clyde Edwards-Helaire. And the last game that Edwards-Helaire played, he had 20 DraftKings points, so he did a good job filling in for Pacheco. He only had 2.8 yards per carry, though, and his main damage was done in the passing game, where he caught 4 targets for 64 yards and a touchdown in the passing game. So Edwards-Helaire, he's a good guy if Pacheco is going to be any sort of limited. So keep an eye on the reports for that. Let's see. Jakobi Meyers is probably in a better spot than Davante Adams, because the attention will be on Davante Adams, leaving Jakobi Meyers with the easier matchup. He scored 20 DraftKings points in that last game against the Chiefs, and last week he had close to 16 DraftKings points in that game versus the Raiders, versus the Chargers. So Jakobi Meyers is interesting to me this week, and he's a discount on Davante Adams. I think that next guy that we're looking at is Butker. I like the kickers in this game because I think both these defenses are good. But I think that the running backs at least should be moving the ball. I prefer Butker over Carlson. But if you look at Carlson, he's had some pretty decent games. He's only scored 9 points last week. He scored 0 versus Minnesota. So he's had a lot of down weeks, but he's had some of that upside that we see. 14 DraftKings points a few times. Butker's the better play. Butker had 11 points last week. He's had a bunch of double-digit points because this, Chiefs offense has not been clicking, and they've been stalling a lot, and that's been giving Butker a lot of opportunity. And I think that continues against the Raiders. Justin Watson, with all those wide receiver injuries, and it's going to become more condensed. Justin Watson is more interesting. He's been a kind of a go-to target on a bunch of occasions for Patrick Mahomes. Had 11 targets versus Philly, for example, and put up 16 DraftKings points there. That's his only week over double-digit points, though. So temper your expectations with any Chiefs pass catchers not named Rice or Kelce. Chiefs defense is good tonight, or versus the Raiders. I think they have a good potential to put up double-digit points. So I would definitely leave the Chiefs in the player pool, and they are cheap too at 4,200. That's the cheapest that we've seen a good defense in a matchup, favorable matchup in a long time. So 4,200 is a really good price on those Chiefs. The Raiders have a good price too at 3,600. Patrick Mahomes isn't beyond making mistakes this season, and the Raiders defense has been good. And you see what they've done. 25 DraftKings points last week, 12 versus Minnesota, 19 versus the Giants, 13 versus Detroit, and another 12 versus Green Bay. I've targeted them in some of these showdowns. The one that I targeted them last was in that Detroit game. That was a showdown episode, and I liked it because Maxx Crosby was going home to Detroit, to play in front of his family and friends, and he ended up dominating that game. They ended up getting 13 DraftKings points. Now, I think that this is the type of game. They scored 0 versus Kansas City last time they played, but I think it's going to be a tighter score this week. And I think if Maxx Crosby is playing, then I think that they could do double-digit points against Kansas City this week. Tony is out. Trey Tucker is the slot receiver for the Raiders, or one of the slot receivers for the Raiders, and he scored 20 DraftKings points against the Chargers last week. Last game versus Kansas City, he didn't do anything, but he's been up and down as far as his targets. He's had a couple weeks where he's had 4+ targets, but I do like him as a cheap option if we need him. Wouldn't go out of my way to put him in the lineup, but he's out there. Valdez-Scantling should benefit from all those other receivers being out, but he has not done anything this year. He's had 1 week where he scored 17 DraftKings points. Other than that, he's been MIA, and he's only 2,800 though. So if we land on him, I don't mind it. Noah Gray, I would like him better if there was a good tight end matchup, but it is not a very good tight end matchup. So I'm going to probably skip Noah Gray this week. Hunter Renfrow, has that good slot. He's another slot guy, but he has not done anything this year. And even in that blowout win, he only got 2 targets. So, Hunter Renfrow might just be the forgotten guy in that offense at this point. Tucker had 4 targets last week in that same game, and he put up 20 DraftKings points. So maybe Tucker is passing Renfrow in that depth chart. Hooper would be the guy stepping in for Mayer, but he's also got a bad matchup, so not really interested in Hooper. Other than that, Justin Ross would be interesting. He's only $600. If I'm dumpster diving, Justin Ross might be the guy that I lean towards. Last game that he played, he had 4 targets, 2 receptions, and 4.8 DraftKings points. But he was a guy getting a lot of hype in best ball and in the offseason. Like, the Chiefs really like him. Mahomes really likes him. And with Sky Moore and guys like that, Kadarius Toney and McCole Hardman all on injured reserve or out for this week, Justin Ross is the same type of receiver as those guys, and he's only $600. So I would not be surprised to see Justin Ross get at least maybe 4 targets this week, and whatever he can do with them. If he can score a touchdown, or if he can break one off, he's got the speed to do it. The Raiders are good at preventing those explosive plays, though. But Justin Ross at $600 might be worth the gamble. Other than that, I don't really see anybody else that I'm interested in. So let's go to build this lineup. As I mentioned, I like Rashee Rice. He's probably my favorite play on the slate. I'm going to put Mahomes in there because he's got that raw point upside. Going to go with Pacheco in there too. And I'm going to put White in there. Let's do this build pretending that Jacobs is going to be out this week, because we haven't gotten any solid updates on him. That's going to leave us with 48 per spot. I like the Chiefs D at their price, so I'm going to put 4,200 Chiefs D in there. And that leaves us with the option for Butker. I think the Chiefs will stall out a lot, and I wouldn't hate putting Butker in there. That'd be a 5-1 build in favor of the Chiefs, which I don't hate. I just think that the weapons on the Raiders side are too expensive. Like, I don't want to pay 10-4 for Davante Adams this week. Jacobs is questionable, and he's 9K. But Myers would be interesting as a pivot if you don't want to put in White and you want to put in Myers. Leaves you in the similar spot, except you have Carlson as a option instead of Butker. I definitely prefer Butker this week. So I might lean towards Zamir White over Myers. But for a rotational guy, I don't mind putting in Carlson and Myers in this build. So that gives you an idea of, like a Rashee Rice. This is a direction that I would like to go. I show you the optimizer build. They got Patrick Mahomes in the captain, who will most likely be the highest owned guy. Let me just double check this ownership here, see if I can get some here. Let's see. So if we're looking at ownership in this one, going to see if I can get an idea of what the popular captain is going to be. Pacheco is at 17.6%, and Mahomes is right underneath him, and then Rice after that. So Rice is going to be popular, but I just think he's in a good enough matchup so that he'd be worth putting in there. So they got Mahomes. The optimizer puts Renfro in there. I'm not buying that at all. Renfro is just not even used in this offense anymore, but he's 1,200. So you get the salary discount there. They got the Chiefs. They got Kelce, Pacheco, and I'll let you guys use your imagination for that last spot. But it's 9,500 remaining. That's probably why they got Renfro. Well, that is why they got Renfro in there, because you basically get the entire Chiefs offense with that, which makes a lot of sense if you want to roll that way. I would probably take out. Let's see. If I took out Renfro and I put in, let's put in Rashee Rice, get that entire offense in there. I think I might even lean Hooper over Renfro if I was forced to choose between the two. I just think that with Michael Mayer and Jesper Horsted is out too. So wherever he is, Jesper Horsted is out too. So both of those tight ends for the Raiders are out this week. So they are banged up at tight end. So Austin Hooper is going to get a lot of action, and he'll probably get a decent amount of targets. So I would put probably him in there over Hunter Renfro and just kind of leave the salary on the table or something like that. So if we wanted to do a Raiders win type of build, let's put Jacobs in the captain. Let's say Jacobs is back and he is decently healthy. Let's put Mahomes in there for those raw points. Let's put Adams in there, and let's put maybe Pacheco, because I think they're shutting down the passing game for Kansas City, and Pacheco is relying on Mahomes for the most part. That leaves us with 3,200 per guy. I think I still want to let's get Carlson in this one. Or let's say that Maxx Crosby is doing some damage in this game. That's going to leave us with 2,900. We can put in a guy like Valdez Scantling or like Noah Gray or someone like that in a build like that. I don't like that build too much. Let's get rid of Adams and let's put in Jacoby Myers. That leaves us with 5,700 in that spot instead. That way we can get Carlson in there in addition to that Raiders D. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game, so I don't hate going that direction. Like if you wanted to take out Myers and put in Rashee Rice, that leaves us with 4,100. That leaves us with Trey Tucker. That would give another weapon on the Vegas side. But maybe we take out Pacheco. Let's say that he's still banged up. And let's put in Jacoby Myers. And then let's put in Rashee Rice. That leaves us with 5,100. So we have Butker or Carlson in that option too. And if you wanted to go with Carlson in a Raiders build, that would make a lot of sense. And that would give us a 4-2 Raiders build, which will be different from the field. And it's a realistic path based on, Mahomes' struggles recently and just the Chiefs' struggles in general recently, and the Raiders are kind of a like a team with a new motivation, and I think that they're going to keep it at least closer to 10.5 points that is indicated in the spread this week. So make sure to hit that like button. Give me the 15 likes. I'm going to be putting out more of these for the other two games. Trying to get to a three game one, but it's let's see. I'll see how I am in the morning with the amount of time that I have. And other than that, hit like and subscribe to the page. I only need 40 more subscribers to hit 300, and sign up for Underdog. When you make your first deposit, it's free money. You make a deposit of $100, open an account, your first deposit, they'll match you up to $100. So that's free money to use on this playoff best ball. And these drafts are super fun to do. You get to pick out the teams that you think are going to advance to the Super Bowl. You try to pick up, you try to draft different matchups between AFC and NFC teams. It's all about stacking in this type of drafting, and it's all about finding value in later rounds. And I have had success doing both of that on, Underdog playoff best ball. I had like a top 20 finish like 2 years ago, and last year I did really well too. And then this year I'm already seeing a ton of value, and I cover it like in my shows, which I have a couple up already. I've got 2 up already, so check those out on my channel. They're still good, they're still relevant, and make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel so you get alerts when the next shows are coming out, and hit that like button. I'll see you guys a little bit later.